video for Dead Stick Investing. Sorry it's been about a week since the last video. He forgot the charger for the camera at home and had to ship to him. So, update on the 1K to 5K challenge. You want to start?
So, the money is still transferring, well, it's settling in Robinhood. So, until the money gets done settling, I won't have the $1,000 in Tastyworks in order to do the challenge on Tastyworks. And in that meanwhile, I'm not trading at all. So I traded today, and then I traded one time yesterday off a little bit of money. I put it in Tastyworks. It was kind of just a test because I wanted to see how Tastyworks worked. Tastyworks worked. I wanted to see like the execution process and the selling process and familiarize myself with that before I started the challenge. So I guess you could say the start of the challenge is delayed a little bit. I made $12 I think yesterday, and I was up about $60 today on SPY. So if you saw, today is February 7th, 2019, and you can see that SPY had a pretty good sell-off in the beginning of the day, and then it came back a little bit in the second half of the day. But I had bought SPY put the first part of the day with that little bit of money that I was just kind of familiarizing myself with Tastyworks with, and I ended up making $60 off that, and it was I think I got it for $1.39 for the contract, so it was like $139 for the contract, and made like $60 off that. But I haven't sold it yet because I want to hold it overnight and see if it continues to drop further. And if I make money, then it'll contribute to the contest, and if I lose money, then we'll just start back at 1,000 again. How are you doing with the $100 to $500 challenge?
Not so great. I tried to kind of make some big positions for the account size I have, buying some like puts and calls at around $20, and neither of them worked out. So like we always talk about diversifying like your portfolio and only having like 10% of your account invested in whatever you're doing. But in his case, he's only starting with $100, so it's kind of hard to invest only 10% because that would be a $10 option. So if you have even a $500 account or a $1,000 account, a decent call or put that you can make money off of reliably would be $100 or so. So the 10% rule, as we've talked about in earlier videos, doesn't always apply when you're starting with a smaller account. So did you have anything else to add for that? I was going to say smaller positions, or at least for me, having smaller capital, having to take bigger positions for the gains that I need to get to start making trades more, I guess, reliably. I got to risk a lot more of my portfolio in my mind just to get there, because I've only got like 3-4 months to do this thing. So
yeah.
So I've got to try and get it up as quick as possible so that I can start buying more, honestly, better options that aren't so out of the money.
When you think about it, growing $100 to $500 doesn't seem like that much in like 3 to 4 months, and it's not. So really, it's no different than growing $1,000 to $5,000 in 3 to 4 months. It's the same percentage of growth. It's just on a smaller scale. So when you say, oh, well, he grew $100 to $500, and that's amazing. Well, it's not really, because you can grow $1,000 to or you can grow $100 to $500. Why can't you grow $1,000 to $5,000 in the same amount of time? So it's just kind of food for thought. This is Alan. This is the first time he's been on here. What do you have to say today, Alan?
So I'm still very new to trading. I think I have about maybe a month and a half total trading experience. I have a very small portfolio, because we're college students. I initially started with $10, which is basically just nothing, like the bottom of the scale. Just been messing around with really cheap penny stocks. I've been riding a couple. There's CRMD, ACB kind of Those went up pretty recently. But I think just a couple of things I've learned from the few months I've done this is that you don't want to put anything. First and foremost, you won't put anything that you're not willing to lose in the market, because there's always a possibility you could lose everything that you put in.
Especially when you're beginning.
Yeah, at some point, especially. So it's very hard. And you always want to find good programs like Thinkorswim or Robinhood where you can predict, make good predictions, but you don't always want to rely on those, because literally you could predict that it goes one way and it could just consolidate for a while. It could go the complete opposite direction, and that's where you can lose everything you make. So also I think it's also very important. I think you already said to have a diversity of your portfolio. So don't put all your money in one boat. You want to have a very diverse portfolio. Put all your money in the same spot. For example, I looked up these videos about how to start off small, because that's basically what I'm doing, starting off literally nothing. And a couple of good tips I've heard is just to find the very cheap stocks with shares maybe worth less than $1. Put about $2 worth into 5 different ones, and just see where each one goes. Monitor, learn how the system works before you start throwing in tons and tons of your money. And just really, you want to learn more before you start focusing on how much you're making. You really want to get the whole concept down before you start playing with hundreds and thousands of dollars. So I think it's very important.
Kind of going off what you said about the not using predictions, or as you make them, but I predicted that Snap was going to drop a lot when they released their earnings call, because it was pretty much guaranteed they were going to miss it. But they ended up beating their expectations by I think 4 cents a share or something like that. Even though it was still a loss per share, they beat the expectations, and it shot up 20% after hours. And I had a put that I thought was pretty much guaranteed to make money, because Snap's not a very good company. But I just lost $20 overnight, just like that, and that's 20% of my portfolio, because I only have $100. So can't always go off.
It goes back to what is forming a solid trend. And I know I've watched Ricky Gutierrez before, and one thing that he always stresses is only trade stuff that you understand. So only trade patterns that you understand. And basically what that means is kindergartners can understand patterns. It's why can't we understand patterns? So when it comes to that, we can't predict the patterns because we're trading patterns we don't understand. And that may be confusing, but at the same time, it's if you see a consistent trading pattern that's just repeating itself over and over and over again, then why would you not buy low, sell high, or buy a put high and then sell low? I mean, trade stuff that you can. Don't trade something that it looks good. You just think it looks good, and you're going to invest money in that. And especially if you're a beginner, you never want to do that. I was reading, I heard it or I read it. People who start with $100,000 are much worse traders than people that start with $100 and then work their way up. Because if you start with $100,000, you don't understand the value of risk, and you don't understand the value of not having money to invest with. When you start with $100 or whatever it may be, and you start investing in options that are $100 or $50 or like Alan $10, you pay very, very, very close attention to every single trade that you make, and you watch it very closely throughout the day. I know I'm doing the challenge with $1,000. I know even with the $1,000 account, I'm still going to be watching it like a hawk versus the one with the $10. And that was because when I did start, I started very, very with a small amount of money, and in that process, I learned the value of risk and what it means to be down 50%. You know a little bit about being down 50%. It doesn't feel good, especially when you've been doing it for a while, and you're like, I'm finally getting the hang of this. I think that what I'm about to invest in is going to pay off. I'm 95% sure it's going to work, and then it doesn't work, and then you're heartbroken, and you're just like, well, shoot, what happened? And that's where if you knew exactly what was going to happen, then you're going to be a millionaire. But no one knows exactly what's going to happen. You can only trade trends, read the indicators, and then cut losses when it doesn't go your way. If you look at it this way, if you make 5 trades and cut losses at $10 every trade, but then you have one trade that makes $150, you just made 5 trades. Your probabilities of having a successful trade just went up considerably. You cut losses on all 4. Did I say 5? 4, 5. You cut losses on all 5, but on the 6th one, you made $150. You still made $150 in that week, even though you lost 4 or the 5 out of the 6 trades. It goes back to probability, and it goes back to cutting losses. If you think every single trade is going to be successful, and every trade end up not being successful, then cut your losses early, so that one trade that you are successful on, you can let it ride all the way until you make $150. When you make the $150, then you'll profit $150 that week, and you'll be good to go. And yeah, I can talk about that all night long, but because I've been there and I've messed up several times, and you learn from it, which is a good thing with starting a small amount of money, because you can learn from your mistakes. So, is there anything else we want to add tonight? So, in this little waiting period before we start the challenge, we're just going to have these little videos. Hopefully it's ready for tomorrow. Hopefully the $1,000 gets there tomorrow. Like I said earlier, I'm going to post a screenshot in the video of my entry point for SPY today, and hopefully we can make money on that tomorrow, and I can post that video tomorrow. So that's probably going to be it for tonight. Please subscribe. We're hoping the channel starts to grow. I know it's getting off to a pretty rough start, but we're only like 2.5, 3 weeks old, so I didn't really expect much. But yeah, please subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.